Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So look, last night, absolutely amazing, man. Jesse Bam Rodriguez and Rungvisai. That fight was absolutely amazing. But you know, if you didn't see that fight, that fight shows you how important angles are, or the triangle, and understanding how to set that up, keep a person in that triangle to where that they stay neutral and they don't have an advantage, right? This is one of those simple theories where you place yourself at any of the 3 points of the triangle. Now, I just posted an image in here, right? And the image that I placed in here in the red box, you'll see at the bottom points, your opponent is always in the center of the triangle. It's the blue circles. From this point, you realize that there are no advantages. Everyone has access to the same punching technique. Okay? So the guy in the red keeps that guy in the blue. So when you want to let your jab go, he's there. Your right hand go, he's there. Now, with the guy in the blue circles, as he gets outside of that triangle, you no longer have the advantage. Now he gets outside of that triangle and he puts you in the triangle because now you're in what they call being on the line, or you're in the position for him to get his shots off. And when you look at what Bam Rodriguez did last night to Rungvisai, right? First of all, it had to do with Bam's power as well, because he was hitting him with some shots. And the way Rungvisai is reacting, I was like, oh, he doesn't like that. Now, we know Rungvisai has power, but there's something special in fighters' hands when they can hit somebody and make them change the whole game plan or start to retreat, okay? When you're sitting there watching, it doesn't look that spectacular. But when you watch the reaction of the other fighter, that means there's something going on, okay? And that's what was happening last night. But the reason, Bam, from the very first second of the first round, he controlled Rungvisai. When I say he controlled him, he controlled him. He outboxed him, used his distance. But what really gave him the advantage, I'm going to tell you. What really gave him the advantage, let me bring this up a little bit. Let me move this out of the way a little bit, man. Okay? What really gave him the advantage is understanding how to keep his man in that triangle. So when Rungvisai would make a move and would get Bam in that triangle, so Bam is down here in the red circle, he would step out on an angle. So what they're doing is like the triangles are just shifting. And it's who can keep that guy in the triangle to get his shots off. And then roll out on an angle, put him at a disadvantage again. And that's what he did. He did it the whole fight. And it's absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely amazing, man. But when it comes to applying those different theories and techniques, especially like the triangle theory, man, you must be at either of the 3 corners with your opponent in the middle. You know, you have to be at either of those 3 corners with your opponent in the middle. And that is what he did, man. Because from this point, you must realize that there are absolutely no advantages. That's why Rungvisai couldn't get any shots off. And although you placed at a point, your opponent still has access to the same punches and techniques. That's why you keep using your legs for lateral movement, getting out the way, slipping, stepping around the opponent. So what you're doing essentially is, there's that triangle, right? The opponent's here in the middle, and it just keeps moving. But you're keeping him in the middle to where he's neutral. And you're stepping from point to point to point. And that's what he did. That's why it's important to have legs in boxing. That's why you see when 2 guys come together, 2 boxers come together, right? And they're like this. If they just come together and just start letting the shots go, and it's like a mashup crash where they start banging each other, nobody's using angles, they just stand in front and start hitting each other because they're both inside of those triangles that they've created for each other, and they don't have neither one has an advantage. That's why they both can keep getting hits with those shots. But you see, when one person rolls out, now he just put that person back in the triangle. This person is facing this way, and he's getting the shots off. That's why it's so important in boxing is understanding angles, understanding having good legs, having good lateral movement. But essentially, what it is keeping a person, you being at the points of the triangle at all time, and keeping that person in the center. And remember, you can sit there and flip this around and take the red circles, depending on the movement of that guy in the blue circles. If he steps out on an angle, well, now he puts you, he's at a tip of the of the trees at one of the tips of the triangle, and you're there in the middle in a neutral space, and you don't have any advantage. So this is where it comes to having the intelligent footwork, and that's why you see guys like, what's his name, Rungvisai. You seen Zab Judah do it. You seen especially like right now Lomachenko. Okay, you see Devin Haney do it. You see what's his name, Shakur Stevenson do it. Okay, and that lightweight Japanese guy who just fought, man, I can't remember his name. It's something Gucci, right? But you see those guys, and you're like, how come they just keep getting the unloading on people? Because they're in close, and it's footwork. That's like they say, if you're a southpaw fighter, an orthodox fighter, it's footwork. You want to get outside of the other person's foot. You don't want to be inside, because now you're right in the line of fire. You got to get your head offline. But it comes back to this right here, man. The setup, neutral, no advantage. And I wanted to share that with y'all. But this guy right here, man, Bam Rodriguez is on his way. Yeah, he can fight. Like, he can fight. I was watching that, and I was like, this is so textbook 101. But he had the power to neutralize his opponent as well. Because his opponent, Rungvisai, man, who's known for power. You can say he's seasoned, say he's been around, he's been through some battles, but we got to give Bam Rodriguez credit. Got to give him credit where credit is due. He did an outstanding job in this fight. Very impressed with him. Very, very impressed with him. To see someone box like that. Who else boxed like that for 12 rounds and just look spectacular? That's like the Devin Haney type performance. Floyd Mayweather type performance, you know? Just to move like that, man. Just out of distance, just enough to get your shots off. You know, it was just absolutely amazing to watch him fight. You know, the, what's his name, Andre Ward type fights, you know what I mean? It's just like a really, really, like a real masterpiece, masterclass type boxing. So if you didn't see the fight, I'd say go watch it. Because it was one of those boxing matches that was not boring. It wasn't a knockout, drag-out fight, a slugfest, a Gotti Ward type thing. It wasn't that. But it was a boxing match that was entertaining because of the things that Bam was doing. This man's only 22 years old or something like that. So we gotta put some respect on his name because he stopped Rungvisai in 8 rounds. So he got the knockout, right? It was just a matter of time because you could tell Rungvisai couldn't handle the power. So when you're looking at this young guy, man, I think he's like 22 years old, 16-0 with 11 KOs. Rungvisai's 50 wins, 6 losses, 43 KOs. There's some power there. And when you talk about the money line odds, Rodriguez was a heavy negative 500 favorite. So, you know, it looked like no one really gave him a chance to beat Rungvisai, and you can understand that. But let me tell you, at 115 pounds, he looked like he can get down to 108. He can probably go up to the next weight division. And I think he's just going to be a problem, man. He is going to be a problem because Rodriguez is intelligent because he even said he knew he couldn't stand there in front of Rungvisai because he could get hurt. But he said he knew that he came to put on the show, he had to fight, but he was very careful. And after like the 3rd round, he said Rungvisai's power wasn't the same. So that's where he felt more comfortable with standing in there and letting his hands go a little bit more. And then immediately rolling out and keeping Rungvisai inside the middle of that triangle where he was neutralized and didn't have an advantage, which was absolutely extremely, extremely impressive and showed his intelligence. And his skills did prove a point. And I think his team and he knows what he's capable of, and I think the whole world knows what he's capable of now. And what he brings to the table, and any fight that he takes, people are going to have to be really prepared because this guy came in on a fight to fight the guy Quadros, I think like on like a 5-day notice, and beat the crap out of Quadros. So Bam Rodriguez is special. He is special, man. And if he goes on to 112, man, we'll see if he'll get the fights on with like Julio Cesar Martinez or Sonny Edwards. But right now, I think the sky's the limit for him. We're gonna hear more about him. He is amazing. He's fighting out there with Robert Garcia. He is an amazing fighter. But for those of you who don't understand this, the whole triangle theory, this is what, if you look at this, it makes sense. The person in the red, the big red circle, those 2 small circles are his fist. That person on the points of the triangle, 3 points on the triangle, that's where you want to be at all times. And the guy in the blue, you want to neutralize him, but the guy in the blue can easily step out on an angle, and now he's at the point of the triangle that has you in the center where you're neutralized with no advantage. And that's what you see in the fight with boxers. That's where some people say, oh, it's boring. It's a foot fight, and these guys are working on getting to those angles and keeping you neutralized. And that's what you see happening in boxing a lot. Now, sometimes you get the slugfest where they're not worried about that, but still, at some point in the slugfest, well, actually, at the slugfest, both guys are in the middle of the triangle. They're both neutralized, and they're both in the line of fire. That's why when they just start slugging, they both just keep trying to tear each other's heads off. And that's where we get the excitement. So for us who want nothing but excitement, like a knockdown, drag-out fight, you want both of them to be in the middle of the triangles. That way we can see blood. But when that one gets tired of getting his ass kicked, you'll see him roll out and get to the point on the triangle. And that's where he gets his shots off because he's creating an angle. But hopefully you guys learned a little bit from that. But Bam Rodriguez perfectly executed this triangle theory, man. And I hope you have a better understanding of it now. If not, I apologize. But I just thought I would kind of go over that with some of you. Because when I was watching that last night, that's what I was thinking to myself. This is amazing. That's how amazing he looked. But that being said, congrats to Rodriguez. And also congrats to Cat Rungvisai, because he's just an amazing fighter. But Chocolatito couldn't do that to Rungvisai. And that just speaks volumes of this guy, Bam Rodriguez. But that being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veterans. I understand that triangle theory. And as always, I'm in the breeze.